Hello and welcome to episode 168 of the Colby Cast, your place for community and conversation about pop culture and storytelling. On this episode, Caleb, Luke, and I, we're going to go back to talking about the Acolyte and House of the Dragon. So we can't get enough of the galaxy far, far away meeting Westeros. And we're going to keep doing that for you on this episode. So hello, Caleb.
Hello.
Hi there, Luke.
Hi.
Aren't we so super excited about going and talking about this fun stuff?
One of them, yeah.
The Acolyte, right? You can't wait. I do want to start the conversation today with a public service announcement. And this is going to lead into a little bit of an idea that I had for a discussion. So we'll start the show off this way. Hey, everybody, COVID is still out there. And I know that because I just got over it. Unfortunately, I tested positive last week and have been under the weather. Thankfully, I've been feeling just okay. It hasn't been terrible like it was a few years ago. So thank God for that. But it did. I was trying to be responsible, and so I went into isolation for 5 days. And thankfully, all is clear, all is good. Life is getting back to normal. And I did want to use an opportunity to just tell everybody, remember to be vigilant, remember to be careful. I guess the numbers are sort of jumping back up. Nowhere near clearly, of course, what we all went through 4 years ago. But I guess in June, they rose like 23%. So it seems to be popping up in people's circles again. And I just wanted to share that with everybody. Be careful, be safe, stay healthy, and don't throw away your COVID tests unless they're expired. But one of the silver linings of this, and having to sit in a room by myself for 5 days, thankfully I have a fantastic family who take excellent care of me. I got to do a lot of watching of things that I have not had time to watch. And Caleb, Luke, some of the things on this list are things that you guys have told me you have to watch, and I'm so excited that I got to watch them, and I wanted to share that list with you and sort of give you a chance to sort of pick my brain if you were interested in doing so about some of these things that I watched. So do you want me to run through the list just real quick, or do you want me to go slow and you can ask me a question if you have one about each one that I list off? What's your choice?
The second one.
Oh, so we're going to take it slow. Okay. Slow but fast, because we don't want to push off the House of the Dragon and Acolyte discussion too far. So we're going to start at the top. The first one I got to watch was Godzilla -1. Have either one of you guys seen this?
No, but I heard good things about it.
I've literally only heard of it when you've mentioned it. I know nothing about it, good, bad. I know Godzilla in the title, so I can believe it's in the movie.
It got a lot of hype. Like every time I saw this mentioned on Twitter or Instagram or anywhere out there, people just wouldn't stop talking about how incredible of a movie it was. And count me in, I'm on board. This is a great watch, an absolute great watch. It's on Netflix, so you guys, if you wanted to watch it, it's there for you. As opposed to, like, I haven't seen all the Kong Godzilla movies, but this is not anything like the one that I saw. I remember we did see the one where I think Godzilla meets Kong. Those movies are action movies, spectacle, big monsters. This is not. This is a very personal story. And I heard someone say, and I can't remember who it was, that a good Godzilla movie is more about the characters that are not Godzilla than Godzilla. And this is 100% this movie. And it's definitely a high recommend. If you guys are looking for something to watch, check out Godzilla -1. I don't know why it's called Godzilla -1, though. That never got cleared up for me. Like, I don't get the -1 part.
But does he die?
No spoilers. Then I watched House. What?
My hypothesis is like -1 heart, because he's a never-ending death character. He'll always be like, he's just a huge, like, you say Godzilla in any country and they're gonna know who we're talking about, right? So that's
absolutely iconic. He's iconic. So I guess maybe even if he does die, I'm still not going to say if he does or not. Even if he does he ever is he ever really dead? Because Godzilla, King Kong, these kinds of monsters, they don't really ever die forever. Of course, I watched the House of the Dragon episode, which we will get to. I also watched a documentary on Netflix, an extremely disturbing documentary called The Man with 1,000 Kids. And this is, have you seen this?
I have not seen it, but I've heard of it. I've heard of like the real life thing.
I say this in all sincerity. After watching this documentary, if you are or know of someone who is a product of sperm donation, like in vitro fertilization, watch this documentary because you need to know. This one man, this documentary is a 3-episode documentary, and this one man in the Netherlands literally went all over the world and was a sperm donor, and estimates of what kind of offspring he may have can be up to 3,000 children, and it's worldwide, all over the place.
Is that good?
No, it's not. It's very bad, and it's chilling. It's an absolutely chilling documentary about the lack of regulation in that industry. It was quite disturbing. So, yeah,
I think he holds a high score.
He might. There's this whole thing about like this group of anyway. I'm not going to go into. It's just disturbing, but it is time well spent if you're going to watch it, especially if you know somebody or yourself are a product of sperm donation. Then a little bit not quite as disturbing, so more, but also not fun. I wouldn't categorize this because this was an incredible movie that I know I've been wanting to watch for a long time, and that's Everything Everywhere All at Once. That was next on the list, and that movie is incredible. That movie is absolute magic, and it also lives up to all the hype it got. It like won all the awards, not just Academy Awards, but all the awards, and it deserves every single one of them. Every moment of it was absolutely like fulfilled expectation after years of buildup of not having seen this movie. It was absolutely incredible. Must watch for everybody out there.
I have so many words. I have so many questions. I will limit myself right now to 3. About damn time. It was so good. I watched it one day and I just sat there after having watched it on the TV and I was like, that was a long movie. I have things to do. I'm gonna watch it again.
Oh wow.
But I didn't. I went against my better judgment.
I would watch it again. I thought about this Luke, have you seen this movie?
I have not.
Okay, I really recommend. It's also on Netflix. The Colby Cast is not sponsored by Netflix anyway, even though I seem to have watched a lot of things on Netflix over the last 5 days. I would really recommend, Luke. I think this is right up your alley. I think this movie will be quite enjoyable for you. The writing is quite good.
Good to know.
Yeah, I would check it out. The action is incredible. It's all incredible. All of it is incredible. And I actually sat there and thought to myself as I was watching, like, I think I need to watch this again, just because it's so dense and things are happening so quickly, so much, and there's so much happening. And I've always enjoyed Everything Bagels, and I won't say why, but I will never eat another Everything Bagel and look at it the same way again.
You're such a liar. You're such a liar.
No, I will eat them, but I will never look at them the same way after watching them.
That is very fair. Their use of googly eyes, not a spoiler, makes me want to just go buy a pack. Makes me want to just go start putting it on everything, you know?
I was just about to say the same thing. I want to buy them at Costco, like Costco level googly eyes, and I love the fact that I had the subtitles on, and they called them Google eyes. So I don't know how you make Google eyes at somebody, but like Google the search engine.
Do you remember the heads up game that you would put the phone up to your head like that?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. You just put Google on your screen, you put it over your eyes.
It's Google eyes. Next on the list was something that I'm so glad that there are apps out there like Google TV that you can put watch lists together, because you can refer back to them and say, what do I want to watch? And the watch list came in like solid, super solid over the last 5 days. And this next one was the result of being reminded that this existed because of my watch list. And it's the Disney Plus re-release of The Beatles' Let It Be. This, I don't have to tell you that I liked it. I'm a Beatles fan. If it's got the Beatles, I'm going to like it. But this movie was made in 1970. And do you guys remember a few years ago, there was a 3-part documentary, like a total of 8 hours, called Get Back. Peter Jackson made it.
Yes.
I never watched it, but I remember you fully recapping it to us because those were pre-Colby Cast days, right?
Boy, oh boy, yeah, man, oh man! If we had the Colby Cast, that would have been like a multi-week session. Luke, did you watch any of that? The Get Back?
I did not watch it because it was too much of a commitment. I couldn't bring myself to do it.
It's heavy lifting. It's 8 hours, like 8 hours, solid 8 hours, and it's over 3 episodes. So the episodes are very dense, and it's so easy to watch, but also not easy, because once you start watching it, even if you're like, hey, I'm going to give an hour of my time to this, you're going to be rewarded. It's going to be a great hour. But you're going to find yourself being like, no, I'm halfway done with this episode. I think I want to keep watching it, because it's just, I couldn't look away. It was really tremendous. The reason I bring that up is because Peter Jackson has said that that project came out of the existence of Let It Be, which was a movie released in 1970 and did not do well because it was released just like a few weeks after the Beatles announced that they had broken up. So none of them went to the premiere of it. None of them sort of supported it. Everybody just sort of let it do its thing, and then it went away. And
Would
then
you say they let it be?
Bravo.
I was really thinking you were going to go there, but you didn't, so I went there.
It's very good. Well, I am still trying to get my brain online. So Get Back sort of was born out of Let It Be. All the footage that was shot for Let It Be was sort of released and given to Peter Jackson to do what he needed to do, and he did this with Get Back. So I could go on and on and on about this. All it is it's a film documentary, I guess. It's not really a documentary because it's just cameras in rooms recording the Beatles being the Beatles and rehearsing, deciding on what tracks they're going to be putting on the next album, et cetera, writing, creating together, being together, and then it all sort of culminates with this rooftop concert, and they performed like about 4 or 5 songs, and it was the first time that they had performed in front of anyone in 3 years. Like, they had stopped doing shows. For any Beatles fan, and really anybody that can appreciate creation of anything, of art, of music, it's really fascinating. But there's one thing that I want to share with you guys that I thought this is my favorite, absolute favorite. And John Lennon does this a couple times. In Get Back, you see him, he just makes things up, because sometimes, when he's writing a song, he's helping George Harrison at one point write a song. You see this in Get Back. And George Harrison's struggling with the lyrics. And he's just like, just make something up. Just make something up until you can come up with something that will be permanent. But don't let that stop you in the creation and the writing of the song. So like, he just like, make up words that rhyme. So during the performance of oh my goodness, my brain has gone blank on the song. Well, anyway, one of the songs that they're performing live on the rooftop in London, he draws a blank on a line, but he doesn't miss a beat, and this is what you hear. I have the sound ready for you. In a Colby Cast first, I have audio to share, and not just my terrible commentary on the audio. Okay, are you ready? This is John Lennon. This is real. Here we go. Oh yeah.
I love that part.
That's him forgetting the lyrics to a song. Here, you want to hear it again? Let's go.
I always thought that was like a different language or something like that. I didn't realize he was just making up ad libs. I
It's
love it.
amazing.
I
So
love it.
good.
Making stuff up on the spot to make it look like you're good at what you do. That's what we do all the time.
I was gonna say that I feel like this is me talking most of the time. Like I don't know what's coming out of my mouth, but hey, it sounds good, and you should see it. So in context, like they're performing this song and he's doing fine. Like the next verse has started, he gets the first line just fine, and then he just does that, and then he goes. By the time he gets to the line after that, he's right back on track. He just never let anything stop him from performing and creating. So I just one last time before we move on.
I love it. That is making up words on the spot at its finest. Making up words to make lines work. That will be second in line. My favorite is T-Pain. He says, I got a mansion in Wisconsin instead of Wisconsin. And it's not an accent. He just, in interviews, says he just wanted it to rhyme.
It's
And I
amazing.
think it's amazing.
Last thing about this, and like we'll really move on. The fact that like people dissect and study Beatles lyrics and try to figure out the meaning behind them, knowing that John Lennon, for some, in certain cases, just made up lyrics to fit a rhyme that he wanted, and people are like looking for the deeper meaning, I think is the ultimate practical joke. Like Winston from New Girl would be super proud.
Oh, absolutely.
Next on the list is something that we talked about quite a bit, and I never ended up going to see it in the theaters, and I feel bad about that. But after having watched it, I am glad that I didn't, because this movie made me ugly cry. I'm not ashamed to admit it. And it's all for the nostalgic, sappy reasons that I cry for things, because I'm a nostalgic, sappy old man now. And I was not disappointed in one way, shape, or form with this movie, and I highly recommend. I don't think you guys. I don't think it would fall with you guys. To be honest with you, I don't think it would. I don't think it would hit with you guys. But for young kids and older people, I think it's a home run, and that's if Ryan Reynolds, the John Krasinski written, directed, and starred movie about imaginary friends. It's on Paramount Plus as of this week, and it is tremendous. Absolutely loved it, and yes, I cried a lot. So
Ryan Reynolds just has a tendency of pulling your heartstrings. That is not the first nor the last Ryan Reynolds associated movie that you've told us has made you cry. There was the other one where his co-star is a little kid.
The Adam Project.
Adam Project. There you go.
That's a high recommend too. That's on Netflix. Did you guys ever watch that?
I did.
I did not.
It's really good. It's really, really cool concept, and there's a specific scene that really got me. It's very cool. So yeah, If was tremendous. The little girl that's in that, I don't have her name in front of me, but the little girl that's in that is so wonderfully charming, and it's a really wonderful story that I'm not gonna go anywhere near spoiling. So check it out. I highly recommend it.
Are you
The next
talking
one,
about Haley Fleming?
she was so charming. She just knocked it out of the park. And then John Krasinski is also in it. And they have these amazing, huge stars doing like just 2, 3, 4 lines of these characters, like voiceovers. But even the character, they look great. I mean, I remember seeing Roger Rabbit, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, when I was a kid, and that was the first time that I had personally seen like animated characters being put in with live action. I mean, I guess maybe Mary Poppins, but Roger Rabbit did it like no other story, no other movie had done, and for the time, it looked amazing. Maybe a little dated now, but it looked amazing now. This to me is like a new Roger Rabbit, where they're putting these animated characters in with everyday people, and it looked incredible. So yeah. Next on the list, Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Finally.
It was cussing amazing. Just great. Absolutely hilarious. I did not know that this movie was a Wes Anderson movie. Does that mean anything to you guys? Do you guys know who Wes Anderson is?
I just know that he likes to follow the same art style in all of his movies, and it's very distinct.
By no means is it the same, but the way that we understand Taika Waititi's movies are going to be a specific kind of way, are the same way Wes Anderson fans understand their movies are going to be with Wes Anderson. Because it's like Luke said, it's the same art, but it's also same humor, same sort of story build, cuts, all of that. But obviously, they're not going to be the same movie over and over and over, or else he would never make any money, right? So it is a big deal for people who follow Wes Anderson like a cult, which I've heard is a thing. But to me, I think that's legitimately one of maybe a handful of movies I've seen from him.
I think you both of you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what was in my brain about Wes Anderson. I don't know that I've ever seen any Wes Anderson movie except this one. So based on my reaction to Fantastic Mr. Fox, maybe I'm a Wes Anderson fan. Maybe I will like Wes Anderson movies. I do know that, like you said, he either hits with you or he doesn't. Like the type of style and humor and acting, dialogue, and that kind of stuff. Like Taika Waititi, it's a good example. You're either going to like it or you don't. So, Luke, I never realized you're a Wes Anderson guy, but you're a Wes Anderson guy.
Like you, I've only seen the one movie, but it's great.
Would you consider yourself a Wes Anderson fan?
No, because I've only seen the one movie, but it's great.
I need you to say yes, just because I want you to watch more. His newest one is Asteroid City, and I saw the trailers for that, and I was just like, "Oh, you watched it, Caleb?"
I have not watched it, but friends of mine, people I know, have watched it and not liked it.
Oh, interesting. It makes me want to see it. I was interested in it even before I saw Fantastic Mr. Fox, but now and Fantastic Mr. Fox is so ridiculous, just in every single way, but in a very very entertaining and good way. So anyway,
Have you
um,
guys seen the Grand Budapest Hotel?
I
No,
have not. That's a Wes Anderson movie, right?
That's also one. That and Fantastic Mr. Fox are the only Wes Anderson films I've seen.
And how is the Grand Budapest Hotel?
I don't remember most of it. I remember it being in a hotel.
Okay, that's good.
we have
You know what it was striking? What was striking to me about Everything Everywhere All at Once? It took place in two places, like the IRS building and a laundromat in their house, which was the same place. But if but it, because of it's a multiverse movie, it's like you didn't feel like you were spending the whole movie inside a building. But I digress. Anyway,
Incredible.
yes.
We'll get Luke to watch it and we'll talk about it.
To round out, I would be down absolutely. I don't care that it's a movie that came out 2 years ago. I would talk about Everything Everywhere All at Once, uh, like for 2 hours. To round out my list was The Acolyte, which we'll be talking about here in detail pretty soon, and then also I always enjoyed David Letterman. I was a fan of his when he was on late night TV. I just his humor works with me, and I know it doesn't with everybody. And I think I've talked about this before, but David Letterman is a little bit off the beaten path, and in his humor and quirky, and that stuff resonates with me a lot. So I enjoy his show that he has on Netflix. Another plug for Netflix. My next guest needs no interruption. I believe he's had a lot of interesting people on that show. Huh?
introduction,
What did I say?
interruption.
Ironic. You interrupted me to tell me that I said interruption instead of introduction. Like that. It's
It
great.
works out.
It does work out. So this one that I watched just last night was his interview with Charles Barkley, which is from the new season. There's only 2 episodes in the new season. I was very disappointed, and one of them was with Charles Barkley. And it was an incredible episode of television. It was a great conversation, and I'm bummed out that Charles Barkley apparently is no longer going to be on TNT, and he's going to go live a life, and not have to worry about be on television. I would vote for him if he were a politician. Like if he wanted to go into politics, I would vote for him because I know he would never do that, but I just like his takes on things. So, really interesting conversation with him.
Yeah, never say never. Apparently anybody can run, so it's super fun.
All right, so
Um,
that rounds out my list.
One of the things that I watched recently, I'm watching to start the extended cut of the first Lord of the Rings movie. Haven't gotten through it yet. It's taken me 14 and a half business weeks. I'm just kidding. I'm going into day 2. Um, but I recently watched Fury, the war movie with Brad Pitt and like Shia LaBeouf, and I forget his name, but to me he's just Punisher. It was really good.
I have a smattering of World War II movies on my list that I will get to at some point. No, I've never seen Saving Private Ryan. I
What?
have I've never seen that movie, and I also want to see Hacksaw Ridge. So, are you saying I should put
What?
Fury?
Have
I
you
know
seen 1917?
I have not seen it. Well, that's a World War One movie, but
I know. I'm just talking just
war
overall
movies.
war movies. Have you seen
No,
Dunkirk?
no,
I'm going to give you COVID again and make you watch
no.
the
It's not even funny. Don't. I just had an emotional reaction that I was not expecting. Yeah, maybe I'll just have to rearrange my summer that is left, and see if I can squeeze in a war movie or two. Saving Private Ryan, I feel like you did, Luke, about Get Back. It's just seems like such an investment because isn't it like 3 hours plus?
I don't think it's that long.
I think
Oh
it's
no,
a normal runtime, yeah.
Yeah, I
oh,
think
Fury
Saving
was pretty
Private-
long, but I don't think Saving Private Ryan is.
I think war movies in general are pretty long. Anyway, well, so we're talking about wars now. Why don't we talk about dragon fighting in wars or dragons fighting in wars? Because House of the Dragon is up on our to do list, right? Because last week we did Acolyte first. The week before that we did House of the Dragon first. So we're gonna go back to our alternating um, and our switcherooing, and we're gonna talk about House of the Dragon episode 4, which is called The Red Dragon and the Gold, which is a weird title to me. Why they didn't just call this Rook's Rest, I don't know. But I don't title things professionally, so I'm not going to criticize them for their choices. I
But
should
you do
remind,
title every single one of our episodes.
but I don't know that that would qualify as professionally,
Yes.
unless you say so. And if you do, then I will say that I title podcast episodes, not television episodes.
But we're on YouTube too. We're technically TV too.
Hey, that's a secret. That's a secret. I am trying. I am trying to put out more episodes on YouTube. So if you ever find yourself over there on that site, maybe you'll see a Colbycast episode pop up. But don't hold me to that. I can't handle
Do
that
you
pressure.
feel your seat getting warmer?
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah,
do.
I'm lighting a fire under your cuss.
Yeah. That's good. Good job. All right, House of the Dragon. Spoilers for House of the Dragon. Spoilers for Game of Thrones. Spoilers for anything in Westeros that happens in and around Westeros. You guys got the action that you've been waiting for. Apparently, everyone has. We got to see some dragons dance in this episode. Luke, talk to me. You are the Game of Thrones guy here. I put you as the you sit on the Iron Throne of the Colby Cast when it comes to Westeros. So talk to me about House of the Dragon and how wonderfully written it was.
That is some high praise. Yes, the writing was tremendous as always, but I think we're becoming numb to its greatness, which, I'm still going to keep shouting it out, but it's like saying, "Oh, I went to the beach and got sand on me," right? It's like, yeah. um, it was so good. I loved it. I mean, I don't think the previous episode had much of a shock factor, but all of the other ones have had a massive shock factor to it. And when you have a show that is so well written, where the plot is so engaging and the characters are so interesting, I don't think you need a lot of shock factor. That's why season one had such a big following, even though there was hardly any real action. Um, and then when you throw in the shock factor of the prince being decapitated in his crib, or spoiler alert, Rhaenys being killed by Vagar, stuff like that. I mean, what more can you say about this show? It really has me by the neck.
Too
Oh,
soon.
I see what you did there. I see what you did there.
That wasn't even on purpose.
How exactly is it? Like an arm around your neck or a dragon's toothy grin around your neck?
However you want. I mean, I don't have that big of a neck, so Vagar would be a little excessive.
It'd be like a toothpick.
Vagar as a thing that exists is excessive. He is just absolutely excessive in every way. If Luke is the one that sits on the Colby cast Iron Throne, then by no means, Caleb, you are definitely the hand of the person that sits. And we all know that the hand is the one that steers the king anyway. So what do
I
you
accept, but I also reject because that makes me Christian Cole, and I will not be Christian Cole.
could also make you a lot of other people that were the hand.
Ned
Tyrion
Stark.
Lannister was the hand. Oh yeah, the hands don't have a great
Yeah.
history, do they?
No, that's okay.
Yeah. What
I
did you
really
think?
enjoyed this episode. I will say, I have a question first. Last episode, not the one we're talking about, the one before that, was that where little Rhaenyra is sewing up Jaehaerys's throat?
That's the previous episode, yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And I
So
went on a mini rant last week about how they keep on trying to find ways to put this little boy's decapitated body in
yeah.
episodes, which they found another way in this episode. But I will hold my thoughts until you share yours.
So to add on Luke's point, I think every episode has had a shock factor, and I think that's how they've kept everybody at bay, not having a ton of action as we had previously expected. With this episode, there was a ton of it. I knew from the minute that Rainier was back in the war room, I don't know what else you would call that, um, and Rhaenys was in there, and I knew because of the conversation she had with Alicent, everything was going to go out all out war. I knew Rhaenys was going to die, and I hated it, and I bit my tongue when I was watching it with Brittany and her dad. And then as soon as everything was going ham, they expressed the same thing, and I was like, "Mm-hmm, yep, that's happening, that's happening." And they just kept baiting us, and like she had 3 opportunities where she should have died, quote unquote, and then they just egged us on, and it made it look like she was going home, and then she didn't. And I hate them, but I love them, but I hate them.
It's a Gary Blauman situation.
Exactly. We're gonna call it the Blauman paradox.
I like it. Luke, did you have Rhaenys dying on your bingo card, or was that a surprise to you?
That was on my bingo card. I did not have. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I didn't have um, Aemond being willing to kill his brother in the process.
Right.
But silly me not knowing that this show is just going to do whatever it wants, however it wants, whenever it wants.
I'll just give you my quick thoughts on. I was frustrated by. I want to get into Aegon and Daemon, so I'm just going to say real quick. I was frustrated with Daemon's like literal ineffectiveness at Harrenhal. Like, buddy, you got to get on the game here. We get a disturbing scene of him, in the throne room at King's Landing, and we've got Cottonmouth Rhaenyra, young Rhaenyra talking. Nobody can understand her. I thought it was very effective, but I want Daemon. I'm not used to being. I'm not. I'm not used to Daemon being a limp noodle. Like right now, he's a limp noodle. He's not doing anything. I did see the trailer for the next week, and it seems like there might be some progress. I don't know. IDK ? Question mark? Question mark? Question mark? But I've had enough of him being a limp noodle, so stop being a limp noodle. Second thing, yes.
One thing that I thought that they did very well and effectively was having us understand the magic that is in Harrenhal and
Yeah.
the effects that it has on people that don't have like an immunity, or I don't know what else you would call it, because it
Yeah,
doesn't
maybe you're
seem
just
like
used to it or something.
exactly. The residents there seem like they're operating perfectly fine.
Yeah, he's not taking well to it, and I don't know why he wouldn't eat Simon Strong's mushy peas, but he would drink some witch owl person. He would just drink something that she handed to him, like that. That he's frustrating me, but I guess that's probably it. Probably needs to be frustrating me, so that's fine. I don't. It's not a critique. Also, Rhaenyra needs to stop disappearing, and I know, and I love the fact that she went to Alicent, but I was just sort of frustrated with like her counsel. Her counsel is frustrating me. Young Jace is interesting to me because he seems to be getting darker, not only in his costume, but also in his attitude. Like he's mouthing off to his mom in front of people. He was not doing that before. I loved her response to that, but I think I'm ready to see Rhaenyra be ready for action, and I think she is ready for action after her discussion with Alicent. And then that was, I mean, but then we get into the battle, and then the battle made up for everything. Uh, oh my gosh, I don't know what direction you guys want to go with this. I did say I want to talk about Aegon and Daemon, so we'll do that. We'll do that, but I'm assuming you guys want to talk about that too. But the scene where Alicent just absolutely does Aegon dirty was so wrong. Like, he was actually being vulnerable and mature and asking for guidance from his mother, and she's just like, you just need to do what you need to do, nothing. And I was like, dang, Alicent, that was cussing wrong. Like, that was dirty. So I don't know if you guys have anything to say about that, but yeah, by all means, share what you have to tell me about Daemon and Aegon.
I hate Alicent. I hate her. She's awful. I might hate her more than Kristen Cole. Hot take, hot take.
Ooh, big words.
Her reaction toward Aegon was very Otto. It wasn't very Alicent. It was very Otto.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I don't know. The fact that like she was pregnant with his kid, with Cole's kid, sort of made me think like, oh, Cole, back at it again, being a terrible person. Great job, but
Yep, that's what he
um,
does best.
but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I know Allison's going to play a big part in this because her and Rhaenyra probably have the two. They're the two figureheads of what's going on right now on each side. Um, but I wouldn't mind taking a bit of a step away from her because, you know, there's a lot bigger fish to fry right now. And honestly, like, I would rather see Alicent just being a lonely little drunk in the Red Keep and not see her for a while because, like I said, I would rather focus on, now we got dragons on the field. Now we have castles being taken. Now we have blood being shed. I think there are some more important things going on now.
I have to share this thing that our friend in Florida, a listener of the show, Leo, sent me this tweet from some account. I don't know, but it had a picture of young Rhaenyra drinking that tea, and then Alicent drinking that tea, and then a picture of Kristen Cole being sad under both of them, and the caption was "Nobody wants Cole's kids."
That's pretty good.
I don't blame him.
As soon as that maester brought in that little jar of tea, I'm just like, oh, I remember that. I know what that is. And then she's warming up the stones, and Laris is coming in and trying to. Laris is such a filthy snake. What just an absolute scumbag. He
Such
comes
a
walking in. Huh? He is a rat. That's right. He's a rat, and the rat catchers did not catch him. He comes walking in, and she's like, "Oh, I missed you. I wanted to debrief you at the small council." And she's like, "What happened?" He's like, "Oh, I have gave into my indulgences or whatever." And he looks down at the canister on the table of that tea, and you hear in his mind just like, "Mm-hmm." He doesn't even acknowledge it though, but she knows he saw it. Oh God, he's so gross. This guy, so many gross people. Oh, and I have something else I can add to my list of not liking Kristen Cole. Would you like to hear about it?
Of course.
Always.
This is a violation of my protocol because I usually separate the actors and the characters because they're clearly different people. But I'm going to allow this to happen because it's Kristen Cole. I saw sort of like there's all these interviews of the cast interviewing other cast members, and this was a video of Matt Smith, Damon, talking to Caleb. I think his name was Fabian Frankel, is the guy that plays Kristen Cole. If I'm getting that correct.
I know that's his first name. I don't remember his last name.
So these guys are talking to each other, and they have prepared questions, right? And it's just fun questions. And the question Matt Smith asks the guy that plays Kristen Cole, what is one band or artist that you have to pick one artist, and you can only listen to that artist the rest of your life. You lose all the rest of the musical people. And his answer was the Rolling Stones. And that's wrong. That's just a wrong answer.
Yeah, boo. Don't like that. Lame. Boo.
But I'll give him a pass. Like, okay, I respect that's your choice. But then Matt Smith looks at me and is just like, bro, you would pick them over the Beatles? Like, he literally brings the Beatles into the conversation and asks him, you would pick the Stones over the Beatles? So he had an opportunity to be like, oh, heat of the moment. Yeah, you're right. I'd pick the Beatles. No. He doubles down. He goes, no, I like the Beatles. I like the Stones over the Beatles. I like the Beatles, but I like the Stones more. And I'm like, you're dead to me, bro. That's it. You don't need. That's it. Kristen Cole is he's unforgivable on every level.
You heard it here first. He will never be a guest on the Coldcast.
I wouldn't say no to him. He could come talk about. We could talk about how the Beatles are better than the Rolling Stones. Rolling Stones are fine, but yeah, come on, Beatles. Anyway, Aemon and Damon, Aemon and Aegon. Did I say that right? Yes, Aemon and Aegon. What was dirtier, when Daemon Dracarys Aegon, or when he literally sat him down in front of the small council by speaking better Valerian to him, sorry, in that scene? That was dirty.
I was gonna say, I think Aemond was probably, or I think Aegon was more pissed about being embarrassed about not being able to speak Valyrian in front of everyone, because he that was bad. That was really, really bad.
But bad in such for our consumption, so good.
Oh, it was great.
So, does the rest of the council speak, or
No,
was it just the two of them?
I think only the people with the white hair.
Okay, that's what I assumed. I just wanted to clarify. I think from the moment we got a full frontal of Aemon, and
The full Monty.
yeah, I knew he was gonna cook something up. I did not think it would be literally embarrassing him as the king, and then not being worried whether he was collateral trying to get Rhaenyra or Rhaenys, or actually like trying to take him out to take the throne. Either way, I wouldn't put it past Aemon, because he is Daemon level. He is Daemon level for sure.
Yeah, I think that they see each other in each other. Like Daemon sees Aemon, sees himself in Aemon, and vice versa. Aemon was so cold that he's like, I'm going to put you in your place by speaking a language that no one even speaks. And it's going to work effectively. And it did. And then all Aegon could say was like, I make war? It's like, it was after Aemon talks for like 45 seconds straight in fluent Valyrian. Aegon is like, I make a war?
I have the ability to make a have a do a why I'm just gonna stop.
Dragon fight. He's like, I know Dracarys. That's what I know.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was cold. That was cold. So things are getting bad. And then of course, the question is, it was done so well. Like, did he just see a chance to take two people off the board, right? With his insertion into that fight where Aegon and Rhaenys were fighting, or was he really just capitalizing on an opportunity to take Aegon out, knowing he could dispatch probably Meleys later? Oh, can I share something that I learned? Maybe you guys know this about Meleys and Vhagar. Have you guys heard any history on these two dragons?
No.
Because it was sort of all over social media the night that the episode dropped, so I figured you guys would have seen it. So apparently in the books, there's all this history and stuff, right? Meleys, who is Rhaenys' dragon, and Vhagar, who is Aemon's dragon, sorry. Previously to this, were the dragon riders for these two dragons were the parents of Viserys and Daemon. Don't ask me their names. So the king and queen, who don't ask me their names. So the king and queen that begat Viserys and Daemon rode Vhagar and Meleys. Apparently, they were inseparable. They rode everywhere together. The dragons were not just, the dragons loved each other as much as they loved their riders because they went everywhere together. And now fast forward to this mess, and you got Vhagar killing Meleys. That's tragic. Absolutely tragic.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't know about that specifically, but I knew that Vhagar was there was a tree connection where it wasn't just about the rider, because Vhagar's rider was um, Rhaenys's daughter at one point. Remember, because she Dracarys.
Yeah. Damon's wife, Lena.
Yeah, Lena.
Yeah.
And then before what's Rhaenys's dragon's name?
Meleys.
Meleys. I forgot. There was another connection where it was like Vhagar killed his rider's mother, and then um, Aemon or Aegon's. They need to change their names. Their names.
We could just come up with our own names for them if you want.
Aegon's dragon, who was killed primarily by Meleys, they had a connection too. So something like that.
I even though your explanation was not incredibly detailed, I love what you're saying because I'm really enjoying the dynamic of the history of these dragons, because it makes them so much more than just a weapon of mass destruction, right? Like, they're characters, they have feelings, they have histories, and that's as tragic as the rest of what we're seeing, because it doesn't even have to be like, oh, these two dragons were ridden by a husband and wife at one point, now they're killing each other. You could say that about every single dragon in this story because they all came from one side. That's the tragedy of a civil war. So, man, it just adds a layer that is really compelling, in my opinion. Also, I want to go back to one of the things that Damon said when he was talking to that young grand kid of that one guy. He's just like, well, why don't you place a feathered pillow over his face and go quicken your inheritance or something like that? Like, oh
I love that. He said that to like a 12-year-old kid.
He did. Who's Alan? Any idea who this Alan person is? Because they keep on showing us he's very important. The guy that saved Corlys, the sea snake.
So I know who he is according to the books, but it has not been revealed. Do you want me to say or no?
So I'm fine with you sharing it. If people don't want to know what's in the books if they haven't read it,
Your ears and go la la la.
Go like 30 seconds into the future. But I can tell you that I'm safe knowing things from the book because they change so much for the show, so they could change something. Who knows?
Yeah, so they sort of insinuate it in what Rhaenys says, because she says, you're very comely, and then told Corlys it's not his fault that he is what he is, or something like that,
or who he is, or something.
Yeah, he's Corlys's bastard son.
Okay, I thought maybe that was the case.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I believe that he ended up riding a dragon at one point.
Caleb has taken his headphones out because he wanted to be saved from a spoiler, so we just got to keep talking. And he wants a thumbs up when we're done. Oh, good job, Caleb. That was a very good idea. I hope all of our listeners took out their headphones for the last 15 seconds. But that's interesting. I knew it had to be something like that. So, okay, no more spoiler talk from the book.
I enjoy history, not spoilers. Once we've gotten past it and we'd like dive deeper, we put our boots and our overalls on, get to the nitty gritty of it all. I love it. If they're not ready to reveal it to us, I'm ready to hear more about it. Maybe next episode, I'll come back and I'll listen to this, or I'll just have you repeat it.
Be interesting to see what happens, because they, even last episode, he really wasn't in it, but they put him in the recap, so they keep on putting him in front of us to keep, hey, remember, this guy is here and we got something here for you. So we'll be interested to see. Okay. Anything? I think I ticked all my boxes for last thing. Aegon's alive, right? There's no way he's dead.
Yeah, I think so. I wish he wasn't, but yeah, I think he is. And I don't think he'll be alive for much longer, though.
Yeah, that's sort of how I feel too. There's no way in like the post episode hype video for the next episode, they have Allison say, "Is he alive?" and show us the bed and just
Yeah,
have his remains be somewhere else. There's no way that that's the way he goes out if they're trying to string it on.
that was my that was my first thought too when I saw the trailer, like the way that they put that together. But that could be misdirection. I don't know. And again, they're changing things with the book, so we really can't go to the established story to see. All I know is that I think it would be way more interesting if he were alive than if he died. Because if he dies, then we go into the whole like who's going to succeed him, blah blah blah. I don't care about any of that stuff at this point. Maybe down the road when ultimately he dies, because I'm sure he will. But the dynamic of what his brother did to him, I want to see how that plays out. What does that mean for the story? Because
Absolutely.
only Aegon knows. And will he remember? Will he say something?
Well,
Will
there's
he
someone
try to
else who knows.
say, who knows?
Kristen Cole.
Yeah, that's
Well,
what I
that's
was gonna say.
true. That's true. Because
Yeah,
that's true.
Aemon was going to go put him down.
See, I thought that he was taking his sword out, but he was putting his sword away when Kristen came upon him. He had his sword out, but he was putting it away when he said his
So
name.
you hear him unsheath it? Is that the word?
Unsheath it.
You hear him unsheath it before you even see him, and then you see Kristen Cole yell at him, and then he puts it back in. He was drawing it and put it back in. It's not like he was putting it away before anything happened. That's how
Gotcha.
I saw it.
Gotcha.
Then the last thing that I'll say on the episode was actually in the post portion. They made a point of saying that Aegon killed Mira. Is that the dog? Is that the dragon?
Meleese.
Meleese.
Oh yeah, yeah. They're giving the king the credit for taking
Yeah.
me down Meleese. Yeah.
So I'm sure that's gonna rub Aemon the wrong way. And
True.
one way or another, I think he's not the type of guy to be like, "Oh no, I didn't mean to do." If he meant to do it, he's gonna say he meant to do it. You know?
You know, Luke, do you have any final thoughts?
Oh, I do think we're going to get your Damon fix. I don't think he's going to be cooped up in Harrenhal for too long, especially after what he said they should have done happened, where he said they should go take two dragons and go kill Vagar. Then they go get two dragons and kill Meleese. I don't think once word gets to him that he's just going to be cooped up
Mm,
in Harrenhal for too much longer. But I
that's a good point.
am very excited about this whole this witch thing and the curse going on in Harrenhal, because that there were two very distinct differences in Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon. The two differences are the lack of magic and the lack of humor. I don't think we're going to get much humor, but I am very interested in the magic that's going on because that's a big part of Game of Thrones that I really liked.
It's a very interesting observation because Game of Thrones, as that time, is very funny. Humor is definitely a big part of that show, and there's really none of that in House of the Dragon, and it's fine. It's okay. It's just a different tone. Yeah, we'll see. I just Damon is not a he's not a diplomat. He's not a politician. He's not there to rally people, and it's a very good observation. Like the dragon that he felt they could have taken out. Um, just went and cost them their largest dragon. So and not only the dragon but also Rhaenys. So
Yeah, that's a heavy blow both for me because I very much enjoyed her. I always forget you can't have favorites in Game of Thrones related things. You just can't, and I should have known
yeah,
that from very early in Game of Thrones. But yeah, I want to know what they're gonna do now that they're down their biggest dragon and their probably most skilled dragon rider.
right. And then when you juxtapose that against Damon, sorry, Aemon. I keep calling Aemon Damon because there's a D at the end. He doesn't even wear armor. Like he doesn't. He walks around no armor. He rides his dragon no armor.
Well, this
He's
time when he went to Harrenhal, he was full suited out.
well, Damon was. I'm talking about Aemon.
Oh, now you're
Yeah,
making me confused.
yeah, yeah. Damon has that
Eye patch.
awesome black armor, huh?
You're right.
Eye patch.
Eye patch. We should just call him Eye Patch.
No,
Eye
we'll
Patch.
just call him Patchy. I'm
All
sure
right.
his character would love that.
Definitely. That's gonna do it for House of Dragon. So let's shift. Let's hit hyperspeed, the hyperdrive. That's my high tech sound effect going into hyperspace. We're gonna go to the Star Wars galaxy here. So we're gonna talk about Episode 7 of the Acolyte, called Choice, and this is going to be full spoilers as well. So if you haven't watched that, don't listen to this. So this fills in all the gaps that we have been wondering about Episode 3, since Episode 3, and what happened. What is this big mystery that happened on Brendock? We have all of our answers. I know that the show has been hit and miss for both of you, but did getting any of these answers filled in do anything for you as far as the story moving forward? Were you surprised by any of the blanks that were filled in? I was surprised by one of them specifically, two of them actually, and I would love to hear if you were.
Can you tell us which two you were surprised before we give our opinion?
Sure. I did not expect Soul to get out his lightsaber and kill Mother Anastasia while she was turning into smoke. I did not expect that from Soul. I'm not. I was surprised that it happened, but I also understand why he did it. But that's a whole. That we'll get more in details. That's one of them. The other one is, the way I see it, Indara killed that entire coven of witches.
Yeah.
Because she was doing something there telepathically trying to save Kelnaka, and that led to the death. And that was my biggest questions coming out of Episode 3, where we saw the other perspective of that, was what happened? How did those witches die? Because it was not by fire, it was not by lightsaber. They were all like just in this room. Now we know. Also, you could include the status of Mother Anastasia. They never resolved that in that episode. They didn't show her die the way that they did in this one. And then the last one was the line that May said that I was just hung up on, which was when she told Osha, "We're stuck here now." And they didn't explain to any of us what that meant at the time, but now we know, because before any of this happened, she went and destroyed the controls for the elevator. That was their one way out of the place. So that all was satisfying to me to understand, fill in those gaps. And then they went a little bit further into some of the dynamics with the Jedi, why they were there, that I know people were asking about, how did they come across this coven, and, the reasons for what the Jedi did, I found interesting. But the two things that were a big surprise to me was that Soul killed and Mother Anastasia, and that Indara basically wiped out the entire coven.
I don't know what it is, but we watched the same thing. I didn't feel as informed or surprised as you did, but you saying it and like not necessarily like spoon feeding it to me, but explaining it from your perspective as a appreciation on my part. With that said, I was pretty okay with the overall episode.
How about you, Luke?
This is 2 episodes that were entire flashbacks. And I think that is like, I wish that they could have found a way. I know it's not easy, but I wish they could have found a way to make them a little bit more capable of telling a story within itself. I don't think that they had to go do 2 entire flashback episodes. I understand wanting to plant Easter eggs, but I don't think those Easter eggs they planted were interesting enough to warrant going back that far and putting in all that effort to try to get what to fill in gaps of honestly what feels like a pretty insignificant part of the show, to be honest.
It's interesting that you referenced that. I feel like this is the core of the show. Like this, what happened on Brendock, I feel like is the actual mystery that they keep alluding to and calling this show a mystery. So we'll see if that's the case or not, because there's still a lot of unresolved things that could definitely be the core. But I am right on board with you about the structure. I get essentially what you're saying is that you take exception with some of the structure of the show. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, for sure.
So it sort of goes back to, I don't know if it was last episode, you weren't on the part of that conversation, or if it was the one before. I think it was last episode. I sort of went on this tangent about how, you know, I don't mind if I have fewer episodes as long as the episodes are, like all encompassing encapsulated stories.
Yeah.
And I feel like, look, and I don't do this for a living. I don't write. I don't make television shows, and I would never ever ever go and say somebody that is a professional and very effective at this should do something better, because I appreciate what they've done. But the question is fair, I think, when you say, could it have been structured in a different way that would have been a more compelling story? Because my point was, if you have fewer episodes and sort of like encapsulate certain episodes into others that make them longer and reorganize the story, will it would it be a more effective story? And I actually saw a tweet from David Jesse, who is one of the hosts of Tatooine Sons, great podcast, and I agreed with the tweet 100%. He basically gave all of the episode names, and I don't have it in front of me, so I won't bore you with all of the different names and stuff. But if you look at the episodes, some of them are two words, one word slash another word, and then some of them are just one word. If you were to take all the one word episodes and just double them up with each other, like day and night, make that one episode. Destiny and Choice. Destiny was the first flashback episode. Choice was last night's flashback episode. If you just take those and put them all together, I feel like you have a completely different, more fluid story that we're watching. I'm not sure why they wanted to show us all these things from different perspectives, unless they just wanted to play with perspective, which I love. I love that idea. I'm sure there's an idea behind why they structured it this way. But if you had even started the series with this story and shown us, hey, we have a big issue, then you can take it into the different unresolved issues that we have right now. Like, this is clearly something that they covered up. Indara said it at the end of this episode. She said, May, this is what we're telling the council. And she said, this is the truth. May started a fire and the coven was lost. Well, that two things are true, right?
Yeah.
But that's leaving a lot out. So again, you're playing with the idea of perspective, and I get that, but I just wonder if it would have been a little bit more effective had you just restructured it in a different way.
I see exactly what you're saying, and I do think there's a big difference between shock and surprise factor. There's no shock factor in these like there is in House of the Dragon, but I think what missed for me was the surprise factor. I wasn't really surprised when all the witches just ceased to exist. I wasn't surprised when they took over, what's the Wookiee's name?
Kelnaka.
When they took over Kelnok and used him against the Jedi. Um, I have many and very passionate thoughts about that, which I will not share right now. But the thing that I didn't like was it felt like the structure of the episodes and the season so far was to try and let the action do the speaking, and that's why the dialogue is so like poor to us.
Hmm.
While if you had it chronologically, you can have conversations, passionate or just normal conversations, fights, verbal fights, whatever you need, and have the same impact. And I think I would have appreciated that more. But like they decided to go this way, and I see the perspective and I see what they're trying to do. But again, I agreed with you last week. I'll reiterate my agreement with you this week. If it was shorter, they have to make it more of a potent and strengthened product, and I think that would have been the best thing overall.
So aside from the structure of the series and the writing, which is all valid to talk about. I think there are story points here that I find pretty compelling, and the fact that it was confirmed that the Jedi were there because they were trying to find evidence of a vergence in the Force, which is a big deal because the only other vergence in the Force that we really know about was Anakin, because Qui-Gon used those words, or
Interesting.
at least it was used. I don't know if Qui-Gon said it, but it was used in reference to the existence of Anakin Skywalker. And I have no problem with this preceding Anakin Skywalker's conception. I think it makes total sense that people were out there, dark forces were out there trying to create life through the Force for whatever reason they were trying, and it sort of sets a precedent. And I like that enhances the overall Star Wars story. I have no problem with them including that, and the fact that they use the word symbiote, that Torben explained that the twins have the same identical symbiote, and if they were two identical twins, they would have their own individual symbiote. But in this case, they have one consciousness and two bodies. I find that to be really interesting. I don't know what you guys think about that, and I don't know if it's going to turn into anything. But I find the existence of these two twins. It makes me think of like Rey and Kylo. Like, is this was that a similar situation? Although the age would be much different in Ray and Kylo, Ray and Ben's, I guess you could say. Um, so that probably doesn't apply in this case, but the fact that there's one consciousness that can exist in two bodies is an interesting parallel and an interesting dynamic to me.
I didn't like it. I don't like
Sure.
that they created life. I don't know. Maybe I'm just exaggerating, but I feel like it demeans a little bit Anakin being the chosen one, because
Hmm.
to me, he was supposed to be the only time that that has ever happened or ever will happen, because he was the chosen one. So this happening in another situation, like, it doesn't feel like they're trying to make something make sense, like the way they did before, in the episode of The Mandalorian in season one that came out a couple days before, um, the Rise of Skywalker, where Grogu heals, um,
Grief Karga.
yeah, Grief Karga, and then Rey heals that snake or whatever. It doesn't feel like they're doing that. I think that they're just taking another story and then trying to do something similar with it, and it doesn't really do anything for me. I feel like it almost demeans it a little bit. And then when the mother, what was her name, Mother Anasea,
Yep.
when she said something about like your ideals or something are going to be
I
why
know what you're talking about. She
why
said your noble ideals will cause the destruction of every Jedi in the
in the
galaxy.
galaxy, yeah, like what? So she's predicting Order 66. I don't know.
That's what I got, but I don't have a problem with that because she's clearly a dark side user. So maybe they're establishing, pre Palpatine, that this vision or this idea is out there, and Palpatine is the one that perfects it. Palpatine didn't create Anakin. There's his creation has still gone unconfirmed, like the actual how of it. And I
Yeah.
don't know that the way he was born necessarily made him the chosen one. I don't know what made him the chosen one. I would need smarter Star Wars people to explain that to me, but I don't think that it was his birth. But I don't mean to hijack your train of thought. So go ahead and go back to what
No,
you're saying.
no. You're right. But I don't see like Order 66 is probably the most tragic thing to happen in Star Wars. And some random coven on some abandoned planet that will probably not be revisited after this show just so happened to foresee the entire fall of the Jedi that no other person in Star Wars has seen so far. It just feels like a massive reach. Like I don't think that they have the Star Wars qualification to be doing that, you know?
I don't know that it is that though, and I'm not sure that the show is reaching to do that. I think that it's a comment on the blindness and the hubris of the Jedi and the road that they're already on in this show that we know leads to where it leads in their downfall, which was their inability to see that a Dark Lord of the Sith was behind all these manipulations and machinations, moving things into place to lead to the destruction of the Jedi. I don't think that Mother Anastasia has. I don't think she probably has some type of knowledge of this through visions through the Force, through the dark side, but I don't feel that she. Um, I don't think that I don't think that that line is meant to mean what you're taking it to mean, if that makes sense. I think it's just a reference to your noble intentions are going to lead to your destruction. And really, a case could be made for that because of their hubris and who they are as a institution that had gotten away from their ideals and clouded their vision of what was really happening in the prequel trilogy.
And that's
Yeah,
totally fair. I mean, I don't have an issue with other people doing it, but it doesn't, I don't know.
You thought it was a little bit too big for what we're watching here.
Exactly. And I feel like they already made a point of this, that the Jedi Order isn't what we think it is, and it's not as noble and honor, and it doesn't have the honor that we think that it does, right? And I don't know. I think it's trying a little bit too hard to tie into the Star Wars story, where like you're reaching a little bit there, in my opinion.
I hear you. I hear you.
it's always tough with fantasy and fictional things that are outside of our scope of living. But my biggest issue, and I'm always open minded to all of it, my biggest issue is what story they're trying to tell us. And for it to go into the finale, and I'm still sort of like, where are we going? Like, this entire episode was helping us understand what's happened in the past, but we still don't know what's currently happening. Soul's sort of spiraling out. May's strapped down in the spaceship trying to announce who she is over the intercom before she got sniped. Um, the stranger and Osha are still on that island. How is that going to be resolved? Where are we going with that? Where are we going with this just the overall being of these now dead Jedi that May hunted and killed? What seemed like it was for the Acolyte, but now it seems like it was for vengeance because of what we're seeing in this episode. I have a lot of questions because of where we're left off in both timelines, if you will. Um, I'm hoping they'll resolve it because normally, if you don't have a cliffhanger on the penultimate episode, you're going to have a story that's leading up to something huge that's going to happen at the beginning of the finale and then end in a bigger cliffhanger because they're setting up season 2 or something like that. We're sort of, to me, in a place where I don't know what to compare it to and I don't know what to expect, which I'm fine with, but I'm just sort of left confused on what story they're trying to tell.
So through everybody knows that I'm going to school, right, to try to get a bachelor's degree in history, and I'm close to that. Through this process, I have done a lot of reading and writing, and the writing has to always, always has to have a paper that I'm writing has to have a thesis. You guys have heard this word before. Everybody knows what a thesis is. The thesis is this magical thing that is either super easy to find and write or super difficult. One of the things that I have learned through my journey is that a thesis should answer the question, so what? When you say your thesis, all you're doing is you're declaring your belief of whatever it is, right? But if that thesis can't lead to a so what, like how does that impact what we're talking about? What is the so what of the thesis? Then you're going to have a problem. You probably don't have a great thesis. So, Caleb, what you were just saying right now made me think of this because I asked myself, going into the finale, what we know so far, so what? Like, what is there? What does this mean? What is this leading to? Why does this matter? And Luke, it sort of can be tied into your comments as well, like you're saying that they're reaching to try to tie it into the bigger Star Wars story, which they are attempting to do that 100%. My thing I guess I can add to your both of your comments is, so what? Why does this matter? Is this leading to a bigger story that's going to tie into the Sith and their resurgence and leading to Palpatine? Is the stranger a link in that chain or a step on that road? Going into the finale, we don't know. We don't know what the implication is of this. What is it that they're trying to resolve? Caleb, I guess I'm just sort of repeating your point right now. What has we know now? Maybe I don't know, maybe the finale is a setup for something else where we're going to see how this lie and this cover up has been kept from not just the Senate but the High Council. So the Jedi as an institution has to now fess up to this absolute tragedy that occurred on Brendok. Like, this was a mishandling of a situation, right? I mean, whether you like it or not, whether you're into the show or not, this was a story of Jedi showing up and basically walking away with a child, and the family of that child, who is a coven of witches, no longer exists. How does the stranger tie into this? We haven't we don't even know if that matters, right? Does he have what we don't even know what his status is with May. Is he moved on from her? Is he focusing now hell of his corruption power on Osha? And if he is, why? And why does it tie into the events of this? These are all questions that I have going into the finale, but I don't know that they're because the story has led us to those questions. I think that they're just questions.
Yeah, our general interest, what we're trying to find in the story they're trying to tell. Yeah, I agree with you.
So all that to say, look, it's Star Wars. I'm enjoying it. The fight with the Wookiee was fantastic. Like, that was legit. I thought it was cool. The choreography, you get Soul doing this super awesome like twirl in the air, and he was so powerful. Like, Kanlaka was just powerful. This is power. That's what a Wookiee is, right? And he's, we now know how Torben got his scars. Did we need to know that? I didn't, but we now know how. We understand why he ingested that poison voluntarily. Because is this all his fault? Like, did he just wanted to go home, and he sort of was the spark that led to this entire thing? I know Soul found them, but like, Indara could have probably stopped Soul and been like, "Bro, you need to slow your roll. This is not going the right way." But Torben was just like, "We need evidence of a virgins to go home, and I want to go home, so I'm going to go get those twins." And that forces Soul to go after him. So is this all Torben's fault?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing when I was watching it, and I was like, are we seriously going to start this whole thing? Like, the entire show was just based off of a Padawan being homesick and being like, okay, I want to go home. That there's just so many holes to
I just
poke.
want to go home. I just want to go home.
Did you say spark because of your favorite line in The Last Jedi?
That will be the spark that leads to the fire that burns down the First Order.
That will restore the Republic, whatever it is. Don't you
It
just
is a
love
clunky
that
line.
line?
I love The Last Jedi, but I've always found that line is just, I do love it, but it is clunky.
It's such a
We will
lie.
be the spark that lights the fire that burns down the First Order and leads and restores the Republic. Is that what I can't even remember all of it.
Yeah.
I think you take out the first part and you got it.
We will be the spark. I'm going to have
Or
to Google it.
take out the last part. I don't know.
I don't know. All I know is there's a spark and a fire and burn down the First Order. And I love Poe Dameron, and I love his heart and him trying to rally the troops with that. But it's clunky. It's clunky. And I love The Last Jedi. This is my favorite. Love The Last Jedi. Do you guys have any other thoughts on this episode?
I'm good. I'm good with the show. I'm ready. I don't need a second season. I think you just call it. Really, just wrap it up. Don't have a farewell parade. Just Irish exit.
I think Luke wants an Acolyte birthday party theme this year.
Oh, I love that. We could get
And
a little cake with the two moons like
we'll
crossing
dress
each other.
up we'll dress up the twins as Osha and May, and we'll have some cosplay She-Hulk person make a cameo.
I'm wondering if this. Stop talking about She-Hulk. I'm wondering if this. I'm wondering if.
Yeah, I agree. Don't ever talk about She-Hulk.
Stop it. Stop it. I'm not buying you lunch. I'm wondering if this show would have been better released all at once, like binge style, not week to week.
I agree with you.
Everything should be everything.
House of the Dragon is so good because it's a weekly release. I allocate time in my Sundays to watch it immediately when it drops.
I do too.
Appointment viewing. It's called appointment viewing.
Yeah,
I would too. I would still sit there on the same time that the first season full released, and then be one with the couch by the end of the season, because I would watch every single episode back to back.
There's so much that would get lost if you did that, though.
That's why you watch it again. How many times have you watched Game of Thrones?
4.
Exactly.
But
my gosh,
I don't like everybody. My brain no working normal.
Okay. Well, then if that's it, then that's it. We're gonna call it quits here on this episode. Yeah. So is that it? That's it. Excellent. Well, thank you all for listening. Our mindless rants, where we act like John Lennon, and we don't know what's coming out of our mouth sometimes, but we give it our best. We give it our best shot. So thank you all for listening. We hope everybody stays safe. And if you're in a hot part of the world right now, which we are, make sure you drink your water. Stay hydrated. If you're thirsty, it's too late. So make sure, stay away from too much caffeine and soda. That stuff is not good, although I drink coffee and I love coffee. But not as much as Dave Grohl. Do you know that Dave Grohl, I read his book recently, and he would drink like 5 pots of coffee in a day. Not cups, pots. Could wrap your head around that? 5 pot, constantly drinking coffee.
Does he think that coffee mugs are pots? Is he just using
No, he knows what a coffee pot is. But that explains his level of energy, I think.
Oh, for sure. It also might. What?
What'd you say, Luke?
Yours, it goes into every detail of his life, doesn't it? What was
I love it.
journal in his favorite restaurant in his 3rd favorite city in Europe?
The pizzeria in Rome in Italy.
Can I
I'm
just
just making that up. I have no idea.
Can I just know his childhood dog's name and his place of birth, so when I go into his bank account, I can use that information?
Oh my god!
As a
Colbycast does not condone thievery of any kind.
I'm just
don't know if he has a dog, but he's from Virginia. But don't get me started talking about Dave Grohl. We'll go way longer than we already have. So I'd like to thank the 2 listeners that have stuck around for this part of the show. Their names are Caleb and Luke. So
hey, Mom's here too.
Yeah, thank you, Mama. You always listen to the very last word. All right, awesome. Well, thanks. But seriously, though, thank you all for listening. And stay safe, stay good, be good to each other. So for Caleb and for Luke, this is Colby reminding you. You can find the Colbycast on Twitter and Instagram at the Colbycast. If you're wordy, like me, you can send an email to thecolbycast@gmail.com. Please subscribe to the show and leave a review on your favorite podcast app or wherever you listen to podcasts. This podcast is not endorsed by anyone or anything for that matter. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of the Colbycast unless otherwise indicated.
That'll do, donkey. That'll do.